Is a man not entitled to the powers of the Force? No, says the man from LucasArts. It belongs to the Jedi. No, says old George Lucas. It belongs to midichlorian. No, says Disney. It belongs to everyone. I didn't know this still worked. So I just got to see Last Jedi last night. And I liked the film. I liked it a lot. I mean, I had a few issues, but not as many as the internet would have you believe. That's kind of what I'm going to be talking about. So one of the main themes of this movie is that the Force belongs to everyone. It's not just something that only a few people can use. And I think on a meta sense, that's kind of what this whole trilogy has been about. It's not just that the Force is for everyone, but it's that Star Wars is for everyone, which is why the characters are a bit more inclusive and the advertisements have featured more people. Because not only do they think that Star Wars belongs for everyone, but they think that everyone's money belongs to them. And so that it would make sense why Luke would figure that out and try to explain to Rey that the Jedi are stupid and that we really shouldn't be focusing on their old ways, which very much focused on only training some people and only accepting some people. In fact, that's kind of why Anakin got really mad at them anyways, because they wouldn't accept him because of the fact that he engaged in the dark side of the Force. And this movie's starting to question what even is the dark side of the Force anyway. Go to Dickies. Because it's not like Force lightning. I mean, the Force, as we learn, is just the balance and connection between all things. And so it seems like it's kind of weird that there's some of that that's evil. I feel like the dark side of the Force is more about who uses it. Because, like, Force choke is really just Force pushing in a ring around a person's neck. Or Force lifting, because you're able to move things, because you can, I guess, change gravity. Because, like, the gravity of... And, I mean, when Rey was being trained, she immediately went into that dark pit. And Luke was like, what's going on? You just went straight there. What is it with you and your new generation going straight into the dark side of the Force? And I think that's kind of what's going on, is that these young Force users are not, they're really blurring the lines between good and bad. Because old Star Wars was, these guys are evil and these guys are good. And now these new types of Force, these new guys, Rey and Kylo and probably lots of other characters that aren't even aware that they're using the Force, because the Force can be used in so many ways, they're not using the Force to make them evil or good. This isn't Infamous. It's not just red energy, blue energy. It's more like this is just something we can all do. Going a little Maz here, if you just let the Force in, you can utilize its power for your own gains. And I guess the dark side of the Force is just people using the Force on others. Now, thematically, the whole movie is about, as I said before, thematically the Force is for everyone. And not just the Jedi, who even Yoda, of all people, oh god, Yoda just coming back and being such a pimp as he always is, and saying, yeah, these old rules are stupid. The Jedi choosing to have the Force only belong to a couple people is dumb. And so when Finn and Rosa, Finn and the new girl go to that casino, and she says it's full of terrible people. What are they? One percenters on their yachts. And I thought that was funny because it's like where all the wealth is. So it's a parallel to the Jedi had all the Force powers, but really it should belong to everyone. Same with Star Wars belongs to everyone and not just those hardcore fans. Benicio del Toro's character's there to tell us that there's not really... Some people just don't really matter, because with him it's all business. And he's there to teach Finn that there isn't a strictly good side and a strictly bad side. There's just, whatever. With him, it's just money. For Finn, he had to see other people and decide for himself what he cares about. I'm getting ahead of myself. I think we're going to have to break this into a couple sections. So let's talk about Snoke. Screw that guy. So Snoke's dead. Good riddance. That guy sucks. All he is a second emperor. They're just... People complained about how Starkiller Base is another Death Star and don't want that. Well, Snoke is another emperor that they just done again. He's a really angry old guy whose body is gross and he wants to take over the galaxy. We don't know why, and we don't find out why, but I don't care why, because he's so basic. He's a basic ass Marvel villain. If Kylo Ren's Loki, he's Malekith. Is that the guy's name from Thor 2? Do you even remember? No, because that guy was a basic ass lame villain that left no impact and no one cares about. Because he shows up, he wants to take over, destroy everything, and he's just there's no charisma, there's no cool things. Now, Snoke, I guess, has some charisma in the way that he's intimidating. Like, aesthetically, he was pretty cool in this movie. Him in his throne with the strong red colors and the armed guards, that was really cool. And having his extreme force strength is also really cool. How you can, like, force Hux from across the galaxy on a different ship. That was pretty great. He's physically intimidating, and I guess politically intimidating, if that's the word you'd want to use. But he's a relic. He's a relic of old Star Wars. He's part of Star Wars past that we need to move on from. Otherwise, we're all just going to be stuck in this same cycle of Jedis have all the Force, Sith are evil, and Kylo's like, screw all that. I'm so tired of my parents and Luke's old ways, and whatever this a-holes is, I'm in charge now. Because even though he's really powerful with the Force, what does he use the Force for? Moving things and lightning. Two old school Force abilities. This guy is not new. He's not gonna... If Snoke is the main villain, this series will not surpass the originals because he's the same. Now people are wondering, well, who was he? What's his motivations? And again, yeah, it's a bummer that we don't find those out, but still, it doesn't matter who he was, because what he is just another emperor. I remember, so I'm watching him in the scene, and I'm like, okay, it's cool that we can see him, and he looks really tough, but I don't care. I don't get this guy's deal. I've already seen this type of enemy. Sure, his numbers are bigger, but he didn't, like, make an impression. I didn't, like, empathize with him. I can't root for this basic, super cut and dry, obvious villain. Which is and that's why Kylo is so much better. My sister was, like, I watched this with her, and she goes, I did not expect to like Kylo Ren. Like, they made me like, because he's so conflicted. And that's what makes Kylo more fun. Because he's, like, interesting. He has a personality. I don't think he even wants to take over the galaxy. Like, I don't think he cares. Well, I think he wants to take over the galaxy. I don't think he cares about the First Order. The First Order to him, also First Order is just another freaking empire. Like, I mean, yeah, it makes sense why a new thing would show up, because they, in Return of the Jedi, they killed the Emperor, blew up one battle station, and that was it. There's still, the rest of the galaxy, so it makes sense that there's remnants, but the First Order is boring. They're just another empire. And so I don't think Kylo cares about the Empire. They're just a means. He just wants to be in charge. And he'll, and I don't think he cares about the light or the dark side of the Force. He's just a person now. He's just a boy who was wronged by his parents because they were more concerned with their things than raising him. I mean, they basically sent him to boarding school, where his teacher, in a momentary lapse of judgment, freaked him out. And then he was exposed to forced mind talking. But I mean, I think it's cool that he's in charge now, and he's a much more interesting villain, because now he's not someone that we just have to kill to get rid of. Like, we can teach him to be better. Instead of Snoke. Snoke doesn't seem aware of the last 80 years that have happened, so he doesn't have any new cool Force techniques besides Force mind read, I guess. But it'd be like if Avatar Legend of Korra had a second evil Fire Lord that wanted to take over the other nations. It would be boring. It would be the same thing. And I know there's a double irony there because the Fire Lord was voiced by Mark Hamill. But even then, when you first met him and started to get to know him, he's like kind of a normal guy. I mean, yeah, sure, he wants to take over the other countries, but he's not like some gross rot monster that's sitting in a big chair. But fortunately for us, Kylo Ren went all millennial on the future is now old man and just bisected him, which was pretty funny. And then he and Rey have that, they kind of have a will they won't they relationship going now, which is fine, I guess. Now let's talk about Rey. People wanted her to have important parentage or something. People want her to have important parent. They wanted her to be special, apparently. And some people are mad that they've been theorizing who her parents were this whole time, and it turns out they were just some druggies. And that's fine if they're druggies, because it makes her character more sympathetic because she thinks that she's special, or at least she thought that she was special. And so now that she's come to the grips with she's not special, she's just someone who has the Force. Well, she's just someone who's good at the Force. And like Kylo even says, you have no stake in any of this, but you're important to me, because we can be something. You don't have to do anything here. And that like liberates her. Because I mean, we've just had 6 movies starring Skywalkers, who are like the most special family in the galaxy that everything has to revolve around. And so now, with them basically gone, we finally have, the universe is pretty much free from them until, well, Kylo, I guess, is technically a Skywalker. But not really. Not anymore. People think that she had to be special, but here's the thing. She didn't need to be special. She's a person who's able to do stuff. She can do whatever she wants with the Force. And that's perfectly fine. That's great. It means no matter where you're from, you're able to do something. That's why there's that kid at the end. Because he's in a shit place in his life, and he has the Force. He can do something with his life someday. Anyone can use the Force. Anyone can enjoy Star Wars. You don't have to be this special elite family of like descendant of Star Wars peoples. Jesus, people are just overreacting because she's not like Lando's kid or something. Leia's other daughter. Who cares? Point is, where you come from doesn't matter. Star Wars is for everyone. Go after yourself. Phasma got the short end of the stick again. I mean, if she had shown up earlier in the movie, that would have been fine. Like, we just needed, like, maybe a scene or two of her on the ship, and maybe have, like, some other stormtroopers make a passing remark about calling her a trash person. Then that would at least give us some emotional stakes of why she would hate Finn so much. Because, I mean, she's basically Finn's counter-villain. It is possible that she died. I like to think that she didn't. I mean, her armor's bulletproof, so you would think it would also be fireproof. Plus, if she had survived that fall, then that means she could show up in episode 9 and just be super beat up and battered and, like, really mad at Finn. And then that fight would be really cool, and she could, like, maybe kill Rose and get us really feeling. Finn's great. I've always liked Finn. Still fun here. His arc here is about not knowing about where he really stands or why he should care about any of this, because he just wants Rey. He doesn't care about the Republic or the First Order or the Resistance. And so then he had to meet Rose, who, like, taught him about believing in stuff and why the First Order's evil. And then he meets Benicio, who teaches him about, who, through example, not like actually talking to him about it, teaches him about the gray morality of the universe and how nothing really matters. And so just do whatever the hell you want. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. That's fine. And so when he fights Phasma, it's more personal, because she's like, you're a traitor. And he's like, yeah, I'm a traitor. And so that really cements him. And if he had a Force ability, he'd probably have Force luck. I'm kind of bummed that Rose saved him, though. If he had died, that would have been great. But he did feel super disappointed that she saved him. And then there's that cheesy line, and then she kisses him. And I'm like, I don't think he likes her, because he didn't seem too impressed by that. She kisses him, and he's like, okay. I mean, you're a cool chick. I'm gonna save you, but I'm gonna protect you because I like you, but I'm not like you. I have Poe for that. I mean, when she came up with the plan, they immediately went to Poe, and during that discussion, whenever she spoke, he, like, got in the way of her in the conversation. Like, he blocks her out of view of Poe so that he can talk to him about it. Now, people might complain about how Laura Dern's character never explained to Poe how the plan worked. So you've come up with this plan, and you have this recently demoted, currently under punishment / awaiting for orders, hotshot pilot who has a history of disregarding orders so that he can blow something up and make him look really, really cool. I feel like you wouldn't tell him anything out of the risk of him trying to go rogue and be awesome and save the day himself. So logically, it doesn't make sense why they would tell him anything. And that's what his arc was about. It was about him learning that being a hero isn't always the best, and sometimes you gotta sit back, stall for time, and, like, be a leader. Like Leia even says to him, it's like, there were heroes, yes, but no leaders. And Laura Dern's hyperspace through the ship, oh my god. So cool. So cool, guys. Now, the whole Finn, Rose, and I guess Poe's plot basically meant nothing, and that's getting people really salty. So, it's called a trope being all for nothing. Nothing has to go extremely successful. Nothing has to come of anything. I mean, on paper, it doesn't mean anything. It can be written out of the plot. But for the characters, it's a personal arc for them. It's there for their emotional journey, not the stories. Let's look at Empire Strikes Back, the perfect movie. Luke leaves his training to go to Cloud City to save his friends, only to find that they've already left, and Darth Vader is there, and Darth Vader kicks his ass. That is what we call all for nothing. Sometimes you can't save the world. Sometimes you try and shit happens and you can't do anything about it. Bad things happen to good people. What's important is how you change from the experience, and I believe that they have changed from the experience. Finn got to realize where he stands. Poe learns about being a good leader. Rose gains more self-confidence in herself and has fun and like gets a crush on Finn. It's like these are character-focused movies. If you want movies that are plot before characters, go see the prequels. The humor's fine. What's wrong with you? So, Luke made a mistake. Of course he'd make a mistake. He's like a guy trained by ghosts. And this really old curmudgeon who lives in exile. And now he goes and lives in exile and becomes an old curmudgeon. And yeah, he still has it in him. Like, those last 20 minutes when he shows up are just so great. That wink he gives C-3PO was just perfect Luke. Man, Mark Hamill is a national treasure. And just the moment where he rises out of the cloud and just dusts himself off, he's just... Man, he just gets better with age. It's so great. And then he's not even there. I was thinking he was gonna go out like Obi-Wan, his master, did. And then he would turn into a ghost and he would haunt Kylo and just annoy him. But he ended up going out like Yoda and just letting himself be with the Force. So he might pop up in episode 9. So you can talk to Rey and she's still talking to Kylo. Where do we go from here? Episode 9. Okay, Rey and Kylo still have like that connection, so they can sense each other, so that might be hard to ride around. The Knights of Ren need to show up, for once. Now that Kylo's in charge of the First Order, I think now's the time to pull them out. They can be like he can use them instead of an elite guard, and so that they can be a big driving force. Force Ghost Luke would be cool. Phasma should still be alive, and I said already she should be old and beat up. Poe should be in charge of things, because, I mean, that's where he has to go. It'd be really cool to see more characters using the Force in their own fun way. Like, if Rey develops her own special Force power, and then it basically just turns into really... Everyone has their own, like, little Force techniques. Because, I mean, Kylo can stop blaster bolts. He can Force mind read. I don't like how so far there's only been so many different types of Force things. I want them to come up with more crazy things. Force astral projection across the entire galaxy? Yes, please. Force survive in space? Yes, okay, great. Force make really good shots in a pilot? That's probably what Poe's been doing without noticing? Yes, do that. Force don't get shot because you're blind and you're just saying it? That you've already done that, but yeah, bring it back. Come up with more crazy things to do. These are space fantasy movies. Nothing has to make sense. Come up with like Force Fire or something. I don't know. Force Lightning was the Emperor's thing. Yeah, it's a good movie. Go see it. It's great. Love the movie. It's okay to love movies. Yeah, Finn and Rosa's storyline can be kind of slow by comparison, but I feel like it needs to be there. And if you can't handle it, go to the bathroom. It's really long. I don't have ratings. I just say I liked it. You should like it. I mean, sure, the movie is just a big FU to your nostalgia and I guess a lot of Force Awakens things, but the people that hate this movie are probably the same people that complain about The Force Awakens being too similar. So there's no winning. Nothing matters. I know it's a Qui-Gon Jinn saber. I just like this design, okay?